my family were not overly religious at all, but my father always sang in the choir, and so we used to go to the church because of that. And then when I was 11, I was sent, 5 I should say, we went to Malta, and of course we saw the other part of religion, the Catholic part that I'd never seen before, and I was very impressed by it there. And my mother was not at all impressed at all. And then when I was 11, I was sent to Canada for the war, and my aunt and uncle there were also very religious, but in a very nice way, and I learned an awful lot there. I discovered you could have young people together talking about it, which I'd never come across before. And so that was the sort of beginning of it, and also realizing about the world and that we're all the same. That was a bit, I thought if you had a coloured skin you would be different, and I realised then I had several Negroes in my family, in the school, and I loved them, and talked about them and talked with them, and that never happened in England in that before.
So where did you first hear about the faith? Was it in London?
In London, yes, in London.
What were you doing in London?
I was doing my tropical diseases there, and I met up with, and I can't remember how I did it, but I did. I met up with, give me the name. Nora Peridian, I think her name was. Yes.
Peridian.
Fridian.
And she's Nora Steiner now, isn't she?
Yes, she's Nora Steiner now. Yes, we all get married eventually. Yes.
So she was
I was a Coombs in those days.
Yes. So she was a nurse like you?
Yes, that's right, yes. And I liked her very much, and I said, why are you different, and things like that. She said, I'm not really different. And so we talked about it, and then she said, what do you do on a Sunday? And I said, oh, I don't know, we go out somewhere. Don't you go to church? And I said, not every Sunday, no, sort of thing. That was the thing. Anyway, she said, well, we do things in the middle of the week. Would you like to come with me? And this was in London, and I was amazed at the atmosphere when I went in. I thought, this is great. And that was the beginning of it all, so I wanted to know more about it. And I met more people and more people. And so I suppose I was a Baha'i probably a year before I met Mike.
Yes.
And I met him there because when I had been in South Africa with my father, I had worked in the dockyard with the in the medical thing there, and the doctor there, a very old man, I find him very pleasant, and we used to talk about. And he rang me one day, and he said, "I want to meet somebody." I said, "Oh no." He said, "Yes." He said, "But you've got something in common." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "You both talk about living in New Zealand." I said, "Really?" "Oh yes, he's dead certain about it." So I said, "Oh, okay." And when we met about a fortnight later over a cup of coffee, and we talked solidly for about 2 hours, and then I realised I had to marry him, and he felt the same way.
Years ago, Mum told me that when Nora Steiner was teaching Mum, she was very clever, because Mum was quite a staunch Anglican.
Yes, indeed.
And she'd tell Mum one thing, and Mum would go and chew over it and fight over it, and then eventually go, "Oh, well, all right, I'll agree with that." And then she'd tell her one other thing. Led you by the hand. So Nora was the one who introduced the faith to Mum. But the person who became Mum's spiritual mum was Bobby Leedham, and she was a Canadian?
Yes, I think she was actually.
She was in London at the time, and she was friends with Mum for her whole life, and came out to visit us in New Zealand and things like that. And I had the privilege of meeting her. And so once Nora had to go, I suppose she went overseas or left.
Yeah, she did and got married, and had lots of children and things. I wasn't very good with writing letters in those days. I should have continued. She did come over and see me once or twice.
She did, and she still writes to you, and you still write to her, especially now that we've reorganised your writing desk.
Oh God, refresh and gladden my spirit. Purify my heart, illumine my mind. I lay all my affairs in thy hand. Thou art my guide and my refuge. I will no longer be sorrowful and grieved. I will be a happy and joyful being. O God, will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will I let trouble harass me. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. O God, thou art kinder to me than I am to myself. I dedicate myself to thee, O Lord.